Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Live here, and there's been a whole lot of stuff talked in the past about the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack. It's been a bit of contention here and there. I've got it though, because it's kind of important for my job, but do you know who doesn't have it? We've got a special guest on tonight. I'd say tonight, you could be watching this at any time of day. We've got Aaron from Push Square. For those of you who don't know, Push Square is our sister site and channel. Say hello, Aaron.
Hello, Aaron, Alex. What am I doing here? We've crossed the streams. This doesn't feel right, but it doesn't feel wrong either. And I'm very happy to be here to talk some Nintendo Online goodness for you today.
Yeah, it's going to be good fun with any luck. So yes, Aaron does not have Nintendo Switch Online, the expansion pack, but you do have standard Nintendo Switch Online, don't you?
Yes, I do, and I think, it's pretty much a prerequisite, right? That first sort of tier of Nintendo Switch Online. If you want to play online, you want to play Mario Kart, you want to play Splatoon 2 with others, it's a necessity. But the expansion pack, I'm having a bit of trouble with, Alex. I won't lie to you.
Right, well, that's why I'm here today. I'm here to convince you that it is worth buying. And incidentally, if you want to see the other side of things, then make sure you head over to Push Square, where Aaron will be convincing me to buy a PS5. Can you tell what the original video idea was and what was the supplementary one?
We'll leave that up to the commenters. Expansion pack, PS5, potato.
Exactly, and it's roughly the same price, or at least that's what some people would lead you to believe. But make sure you check out the link in the description where you can watch that video at your leisure, which will be good. But, Aaron, why don't you have the Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack membership?
So here's the thing, Alex. Like I alluded to at the beginning of this video, I am a very happy standard Nintendo Switch Online subscriber. I get my fair use out of it. I dipped into the SNES games and the NES catalog a little bit when they started rolling out. However, the Nintendo 64 games would be the main draw for me if I did indeed, sign up to the expansion pack. Don't care about the Sega Mega Drive or the Sega Genesis stuff rather as much, because I've played Golden Axe, countless number of times. I don't need to play it again. And from what I've heard, the Nintendo 64 emulation isn't great. I'm not sure if the expansion pack is the best way to play those games. So it's up to you to prove me wrong. Sell it to me.
Right. Well, you'll be very pleased to hear, which you may not be aware of, but there are N64 games as part of the expansion pass.
Yeah, exactly.
I know, yeah. That's my main argument, no.
I don't envy you there.
Basically, yeah. I mean, you can make the argument that it's not worth your time, but that's not my part. I'm playing quote-unquote devil's advocate here. So, sort of what Nintendo 64 games... what's your favorite Nintendo 64 game?
I mean, it's probably the classic Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
You're not going to believe this, but that's available. You can play that on your Switch if you get the expansion pack.
You don't say.
That's my argument. Done.
I mean, it is one of the greatest games of all time, But
it is.
Had I not played it before, I might be with you there. Yeah. I'll give you that.
The main thing I think that is genuinely really quite good about the expansion pass is just the simplicity of it, because, you can play N64 on an original N64 unit for the real, proper classic experience. And if you want to go one step up, you can play it, including Master Quest on the GameCube if you've got the original disc that was a bonus with Wind Waker, and that sort of thing. I think there was a standalone release as well, but I'm not entirely certain about that. But it's the simplicity of it. You can just turn your Switch on, boot it up, and you can play Ocarina of Time. And I've been doing that. And I think it genuinely is just the most straightforward way to play a lot of these things. And I don't want to talk too much about... Well, let's just say it's the easiest and simplest official way in order to play things.
That's a good point of reference, isn't it? Like, and I absolutely agree with you. Like, there's nothing I'd love more than the convenience of sitting down after a hard day's work, making videos over on Push Square, admiring the Nintendo Live stuff from afar, of course, and then settling down to play Ocarina of Time. Which leads me on to my next question, because you say you've been playing it a fair bit through the expansion pack. How does the Nintendo 64 emulation look when blown up on kind of like a full-size display, as opposed to playing it in handheld?
Well,
is it good?
Well, there's contention around the emulation. There's a lot of people that have been
Really?
getting into the I know that have been getting into the nitty-gritty and have been saying, oh, but there's all this input lag and stuff like that. And yep, there is input lag there. And in an ideal world, I'd prefer it not to be there. But at the same time, it's really, like, for the average player, it's really not that big of a deal, to be honest. I mean, a lot of people will be playing with, will be playing on TVs as opposed to monitors, which means that there's going to be input latency anyway. And yeah, whilst there will be some people for whom it's not comfortable, they don't like it, it's not good enough, they want something more responsive, snappier. I mean, like, the game itself actually has input lag essentially baked in the way that the N64 processes it. And that's not uncommon in games, and it's not ideal, but it means that you're always going to be doing that. Also, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, it's not exactly a Twitch platformer. It's, you're running around as Link, and you're taking out big nasties. I genuinely think that for the average person, it's a perfectly fine way to play the game. And, in terms of the visuals, I think it looks really quite good, actually. It's not perfect. There are areas that could be improved, but, it doesn't have the weird sort of dark filter that you had, or at least, the graphics aren't as dark as they were on things like the Wii and the Wii U. N64 games and other games on the Virtual Console had this really weird dark look to them. That isn't here. That isn't here at all, and I think visually it looks pretty damn good.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, because as we kind of alluded to earlier, I do have the Nintendo Switch shiny OLED screen.
You do, yeah.
Nothing would excite me more about, trying to, save Zelda and defeat Ganon within the realms of Ocarina of Time whilst playing in handheld mode. That's good to hear. Obviously, you make a completely valid point that it's hardly a Twitch-based game, but I just can't get past the fact that there are better versions of it, made by Grezzo for the 3DS a couple of years ago, and how much I'd love to see that sort of ported to the Switch in some way. And I don't want to get completely off topic, but can you see that happening in the near future, or do you think that the expansion pack, the Nintendo 64 collection that's there now, is going to be, Nintendo's only way of offering you that game on Switch?
I imagine it's going to be the latter. It's all we're reasonably going to get. I'd love to be proven wrong, but realistically, why would they go to the effort of porting a 3DS game where you have things like the touchscreen, and how do you get around that, and all those sort of things? There are plenty of ways they could do it, but it's a lot more complicated than just taking an N64 game, slapping it on, and assigning the C buttons, some of the C buttons, to, like X and Y. Yeah,
it seems like a really involved process, and I guess we kind of saw that it might not be a perfect fit, because obviously Skyward Sword HD, as great a job as they did, ish, on that port we had last year, there were still some holdovers, right?
Yeah, I like it, but there's definitely, you can definitely tell that it was not designed with a traditional controller in mind, and I think that's a more extreme example. But yeah, it just sort of highlights that porting something like that as opposed to something that just uses a traditional controller. I mean, even then, like, there have been complaints about the N64 button mapping in some of these games.
It's really limited, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's fine. Again, I think for the average person, generally, it's the sort of thing where you hear, sort of the people that are being really vocal about it, and rightly so, I'm not saying their opinions are invalid by any stretch, but the people for whom this is going to be a real sticking point have already made their decision. They've already decided that, no, this isn't good enough, they don't want it. And in that case, the best way to go about it is to vote with your wallet. But I think for you, I don't know how to say this without being rude. I don't know whether you'd be the type of person for whom this wouldn't be good enough.
Okay, yeah, no, I can kind
So
of
rude.
see what you're saying. Because because I find myself, I'm exactly what you're describing, like in that middle ground where I would love to be able to try it out. You know, if Nintendo were to offer like a free trial period, have a play around with these maybe 3-4 games that we're offering as part of the collection and see if it does it for you. But as it stands, I think, you know, to put it bluntly, I think the pricing, and we haven't really talked about pricing yet, maybe something we could get into, is a bit egregious considering, you know, what they're offering and other subscription, you know, based services out there on other platforms. Yeah, because, well, we don't need to get into specific pricing, but it's like basically double what I'm already paying, because I'm on the family plan. I share the Nintendo Switch Online subscription with my sister. It's just us two, and you know, she doesn't, you know, contribute towards that, not that I even expect her to, but paying, I think it's close to or just over 50 quid here in the UK, 50 British pounds sterling.
60.
60
60 quid.
There you go. I appreciate you bringing me up on that, because you would have gotten away with it otherwise. Yeah, I just think it's a lot to ask for, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nintendo will never confirm this, but I believe a lot of that cost is purely down to the Sega Mega Drive games that are included, because they would have to, like, obviously pay Sega some of that fee. Yeah, if they were to split it, make it just Nintendo 64 collection and charge a little bit extra, I think that would be enough to win me over.
I mean, I can't comment on Nintendo, you know, where the money is going per se, but the Mega Drive is, you know, is a good thing. You know, it's not out of this world. You know, these games are available in other forms, in very convenient forms. Some of them even on Switch.
The Nintendo eShop with certain games. Yeah, I was just going to say.
But, you know, sort of, it's nice that they're there. They're a nice bonus to me. I've had fun playing Sonic 2, even if Sonic Mania has still spoiled me for every other classic Sonic game there is. But, you know, it's there. It's, in my mind, it's a bonus.
And I've heard the emulation is better with the Sega stuff.
It is. Emulation of the Mega Drive is a lot more straightforward than the N64. The N64's got some weird gubbins going on. I don't pretend to understand it. All I know is that it can be complicated, which is why there is no kind of like catch-all emulator out there. Like there is for other systems for the N64. But let's talk about pricing. So you say you're on the family plan, and that's mostly to involve your sister. For one thing, I think it would be a lot cheaper if you made her pay. Like I'd even say it would be half as cheap.
Yeah, it could be potentially, depending on how generous I'm feeling, I guess.
Yeah.
Or I could, you know, put together one of these consortiums you hear about where you get 8 people, I think it's up to 8 people on a single plan.
Well, it's funny you mention such a thing, because that's exactly what I do. I've got 7 other people, so things like my partner Sasha, I've got a couple, you know, number of friends, my brother's partner. We're all on the plan. We all contribute towards it. And I basically said to everyone, guys, you know, I kind of need this for my work. And they were like, how much more is it going to be? And, well, everyone was paying roughly £5 a year for the original one. And with the expansion pass, everyone has had to contribute an additional £2.50 a year.
Wow, breaking the bank there. I've just got this image of you now, like at the end of every year, like knocking on people's houses, like with a bucket, and say, "It's time to pay up." You know, the expansion pack won't pay for itself. Let's go.
I am the Fagin of Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack memberships.
100%. Yeah. No, that is a good way of doing things. I just need to get more organized about it. But then the challenge then becomes winning 6 more people, if you include me and my sister, over to you know, the Nintendo Switch Online benefit. I'm making it sound like I don't have very many friends that play Switch here. I promise you that's not the case.
The thing is that if you've got people for whom they're already paying for the standard individual membership, and you're sort of saying, hey, do you want to come over and you'll get the expansion? They're like, well, you know, is it going to be more expensive? No, it'll actually be a lot cheaper, because if you're paying for the individual membership, that's £18 a year. If you pay for the yearly one, which is definitely the best one. You know, £18 a year, or you could be paying £7.50 a year. You know,
it's a
no-brainer. That's a huge saving. That's less than half the price.
I still can't believe Nintendo acted. Not that they encourage that, but it's not it's a loophole they haven't felt the need to close yet. and I kind of respect them for it.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, is it better to get, 8 people on who are paying £7.50 a year, or potentially only 2 people who are paying for maybe just the base rate? At the end of the day, they want numbers. Numbers is better. Or maybe, somebody can work out the proper maths and maybe it's not beneficial for them. But at the end of the day, maybe it's clout. Maybe at the end of the day, it's worth having more people paying a lower price than having fewer people paying a higher price.
And I think it's kind of what we're talking about, and the very purpose behind this video is word of mouth, isn't it? Like they're willing to take that sort of, not loss, but take that, because the more people talk about it, the more people on it, the more people will hopefully buy into it eventually.
Yeah.
I just wish Nintendo would, punt up some more games than Operation Winback, is it? Something a bit more recognizable, because I'm honestly not too familiar with the Nintendo 64 catalog outside of the heavy hitters. So I'd love to dip into the back catalog there, educate myself a little bit.
Well, Sin and Punishment is fantastic. It's a game that was never. It's never been properly released. Well, it wasn't released back in the day on the N64 days outside of Japan. It was just released in Japan, and that was it. And they brought it over on the Wii, I want to say. I'm fairly certain it was the Wii Virtual Console, and they charged a premium for it, despite the fact it's still just a ROM. But it's now available, and it's honestly a really good game. It's snappy. It's not massive. You can sit down. You can do it in an evening, and it's really good fun. It's just absolute carnage, and it's a game that I would genuinely recommend that anyone who has this service and they haven't played it, you've already paid for the service, give Sin and Punishment a go. I highly doubt you'll be disappointed.
Is it an on-rail shooter? I'm trying to recall gameplay that I've seen of it now. Yeah, okay. Sin and Punishment. No, that I'd definitely give that a go. What, in your opinion, are the kind of top 3 games you'd recommend that are in the library currently for Nintendo 64? So I guess we go Ocarina. You've just said Sin and Punishment. Is there maybe a couple more? Or
yeah, there's another thing to bear in mind is that there is now online multiplayer with things like Mario Kart 64, which is a big bloomin' deal. Not, because Mario Kart 64 is the best Mario Kart or anything like that, but because this has never been online before. And I tried it with John, and you know what? It works surprisingly well, and it's genuinely really good fun. It's the kind of, I don't want to be rude, but kind of half-baked multiplayer experience that there was a lot of in the N64 days. And just because it's so chaotic and so unbalanced, it makes it more fun. Yeah, I can see that. And that is kind of like technical wizardry, isn't it? Something that wasn't made possible before. Yeah. Because have they gone in and changed the menu layout and stuff? No, it's all basically, as far as the ROM is concerned, there are 2 people locally, or 4 people locally playing, and so it still does all the split screen and everything. So it's
still cool though.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. I think if anything, that's the better way to do it, rather than adding in a load of menus and stuff like that. Just keep it the same raw original experience, but let people do it remotely. I think it's the best solution. But not only that, you get Animal Crossing Happy Home Paradise in the expansion pack.
So here's the thing, Alex. During the throes of the hell year that was 2020, I was one of the few who managed to kind of resist the temptation of picking up Animal Crossing. I know. So there are literally hundreds of hours of my time that I spent doing other things. So I don't think I'd get the value over the DLC that's included, even though that is another component of the expansion pack that does interest me. Like if they were to add, other DLC packs onto this thing for future or existing games, I don't think it's ever going to happen, but some extra Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tracks would be nice. Please, Nintendo, make our dreams come true. But yeah, that would be something I'd think about. But unfortunately, I loved Animal Crossing New Leaf on the 3DS. I didn't pick it up this time for my sins. For my sins and punishment, Alex.
Oh, for your sins and punishment. Well, okay, fair enough. But Nintendo have said that future DLC packs may well be included in the expansion pack. So for some game, space game that hasn't been, maybe if there's no idea if it would even work, but Kirby and the Forgotten Land? City?
Yeah.
I've forgotten. What is
one of those?
Bloody hell. Forgotten Land, pretty sure. I'm going to look it up to make sure I'm not a moron.
Got a reputation to maintain.
It's land! I was right.
Hey, trust your instincts.
Yeah, trust the instinct. Yeah, say there's DLC for that. Maybe it'll be part of the expansion pack. We don't know that, but Nintendo has said, hey, it's a possibility.
Yeah.
It's hard to sell, admittedly.
I'm looking through my Nintendo Switch games library now, and Metroid Dread is staring at me. And can you imagine if they added some Metroid Dread DLC?
I wouldn't want
locations.
it. Honestly, I wouldn't want it. It's gorgeous as it is. I wouldn't change a thing.
It's a tight package. Yeah. Or maybe just a little coda. Samus flies off, lands on a little moon. I could see that happening, but I won't argue with you.
The last argument I have, and it's a biggie, is that soon, very, 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 very soon, we're going to get Banjo-Kazooie.
Oh, okay.
And most importantly, it's not the minorly inferior Xbox Live Arcade version. The Xbox Live Arcade version is absolutely fine. It is perfectly serviceable. In some ways, it's improved, like higher resolution and stuff like that. But I grew up on that game. I got it for my 8th birthday. It's probably my favorite game of all time. And it's I could just, there's things like the Banjo-Kazooie health icon is rendered really weirdly in there, and I don't care for it. Also, Rusty Bucket Bay is now fair, and that feels wrong. It should be ball-achingly difficult.
It should be the Dark Souls of Nintendo 64 platformers.
You heard it here first, guys. Banjo-Kazooie is the Dark Souls of Nintendo 64 games.
There you go.
Predates
Sit down,
Dark
Conker.
Souls. Yeah.
We don't want to know. It's all about Banjo.
Yeah. Imagine if Conker's Bad Fur Day came over. That would be fun.
Oh, I would love that, especially in the, shall we say, unedited version, which is the Nintendo 64 original.
How is it that the Xbox version of Conker's Bad Fur Day, the Microsoft version, the hardcore version, is more censored than the Nintendo version?
It doesn't make any sense, does it? Props to Nintendo. I know they didn't publish it in the end, but what did they publish it on the 64 in the end? I don't think they would have done. You'd be able to tell me.
I've no idea.
But yeah, Banjo-Kazooie, a game I've not played, and it's funny because as you were beginning to make that argument, I was getting ready to say, well, I can actually play it as part of Rare Replay on Xbox. But you'd already, you'd preempted my counter attack, as it were, and. No, yeah, that would be a great get. I'm playing it on handheld. I just think, 3D platformers of that nature, it would work exceptionally well. That's how I mainly played Mario Odyssey. So, yeah, I am tempted. Oh, you've actually shocked me, Alex. You've actually shocked me with your argument for the Nintendo expansion pack. How dare you, sir?
So, conclusion from the argument that we've had today. I say argument, the debate. I think that's better.
The debate, yeah.
Have I convinced you to reconsider? Not necessarily have I convinced you, oh yes, I'm definitely going to get it, because that's mad. But have I convinced you to reconsider? So,
I would say for the most part, yes. But I do have some, provisos. One would be if I could get, 6 other of my friends and we could do this sort of consortium arrangement. I think that makes a lot of sense and is a no-brainer. It takes the sting out of the price. And then, yeah, I think I'd be looking into it. But I'd probably want to wait just a little more until the Nintendo 64 collection gets expanded with a couple more games. Because like I said, I played Ocarina of Time before, as great a game as it is. And the Nintendo 3DS version is my favourite. Don't hate me, don't lynch me. I promise you.
Have you played Majora's Mask?
So I've started Majora's Mask, but I haven't ever dived in fully. That's on the collection as well, isn't it?
It's coming. It's not here yet, but it is coming, and
that might be the one to tip me over then.
Whoa.
In all honesty, not to, you did such a great job with Banjo, but you meant one mention of Majora's Mask, and there you go, an extra toe of mine is dipped in.
Well, there you are. Yeah. So you'll reconsider.
Yeah, I think I'll reconsider. I'll pop out some messages, maybe send out some Switch code invites, and see if I can rustle up a way to kind of, bring the cost down, so I can play the likes of Banjo and Majora's Mask. Yeah.
Even if you only have it for a year, you play all those games and you're done with it, and you cancel it afterwards, still good value.
There are so many games coming out, Alex. So many games to play.
That's the problem with being a multi-plat person, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay,
really
right. Well, Aaron, thank you so much for coming along. Once again, if you want to hear Aaron try and convince me to buy a PS5 and see how that turns out, then make sure you check out the link in the description. And thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you indulge that subscribe button not only on Nintendo Life, but also Push Square. And be sure to check out nintendolife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.
Ooh, Doshin the Giant.
Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me, guys.
You could say something more inane if you like.
Inane?
Inane.
Ooh.
You could just say,
What
like,
should I say?
ooh, Doshin the Giant, or something.
Ooh, Doshin the Giant. There you go. You can have that one for free.